Welcome to the Running with James podcast, where every HYROX athlete, OCR competitor, and the everyday runner has a place. We're passionate about building a community that supports, building confidence that empowers, and building champions who rise. Together, we'll push limits and chase what moves us. Remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Now here's your host, James Wyatt.
Is Thursday or something,
Yeah.
and then the award ceremony is right the next night. Yeah. And the school concert's not just for this school; it's for everybody that the band teacher teaches.
Oh,
so
you'll
it's like
host all of them?
2.5 hour freaking.
Can you not just watch yours and get out?
No, because it's always inevitably like sporadically in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like,
What if you just told her you loved her? You'll see her after and take her to her favorite sushi
she'll know.
restaurant.
If I'm not there, she'll know. She.
Do y'all remember the movie Music of the Heart? Did y'all ever watch that movie from 1998?
Never heard of that movie before.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then.
Good story.
It was a movie that popped up to me really randomly. It was one of my top 5 favorite movies when I was little, and it's Meryl Streep, and it's based on a real woman. It's based on a woman in New York who basically brought like this very famous violin program to I think East Harlem district in New York in like the late 80s, and it's like all about her, and it's a really good movie. But it's what made me want to play violin when I was little bitty.
Really?
And my mom never let me play violin.
Oh, I thought you were about to tell me an inspirational story about how good you were on the violin.
No, there's the end of that story, guys.
But
Mom
the way
wouldn't
you
let
said
me.
it was like, it's what made me want to play the violin.
It did make me want to play the violin. I begged to play the violin. My mom's like, no.
You know, I watched.
Sorry, guys.
I was crushed.
Yeah, I watched Top Gun. You know, when I was.
I wanted to be.
And I wanted to be a freaking naval aviator. That's what
Maverick.
made me want to become a naval aviator.
No, you naval.
And then
Yeah.
I
So
found
how long
out-
you been flying planes? Oh no, I've never flown a plane in my life.
And then I found out I was colorblind.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so good.
Oh my gosh. Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Running with James. It's the same old story, but a different day. We got 2 people, and they're looking a-okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Did y'all get the rhyme?
Yes.
Catch that?
We did catch it.
I did.
Spitting bars. So.
Yep.
Anyway, we've got Coach Lauren here drinking her wonderful high class
Coffee Max.
Coffee Max from the local gas station. High quality
Yum.
H2O, because they say the best coffee, you have to have the best beans
Yeah.
and the best water.
I mean, when you walk into
When
a
you
place,
go to Fuel
when you
Stop.
walk into a place and you get the aroma of coffee
With a
and
Slim Jim.
gasoline
Together.
I
With
mean,
a Slim
together.
Jim.
And then you snap into a Slim Jim.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it, right there.
And if it's the one I'm thinking about, I'm pretty sure I went up to get gas there the other day, and some guy ran out and said, "You don't want to get gas here, man." Some guy just got filled up and his car cracked out as he was leaving, man. I think they got bad stuff in that gas.
I'm pretty sure that most gas stations are putting water in their gas nowadays.
I highly doubt they're putting it in there. I mean, they may not have great
Well,
seals.
wherever they're getting it
things
from.
like
The
that.
companies are getting it from. I think there's water in the gas because I swear I'm going through a tank so much faster.
Maybe you're driving more.
No, that's not the case. It's too expensive to drive at places.
I do understand the
It's too
issue. Like,
expensive.
okay, gas is more expensive than it was. But, like, how often do you fill up your tank?
Once a week,
Okay. And how big is your tank?
14 gallons,
Okay. So before, when it was $2 a gallon, you were paying $28.
like 31. Yeah, 32.
Okay, so $31. So now that it's like $3
No,
a
I
gallon.
paid like $58 the other day.
Yeah, so
That's a lot.
That's 4. So now it's a 20 extra bucks. So instead of spending $30, so $120 a month, now you're spending an additional $20 a week. So $80. So now instead of $120, it's $200 a month.
That sure maths. Yeah, maths.
That's not. I mean, that's more, but that's not like.
It's not astronomical, but that also
Life-changingly more.
Yeah, but it cuts into the gas station coffee, and that's a problem.
It does limit the quality.
It does.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to go to the max without
That other
Coffee
smooth
Max?
voice you're hearing over there is Coach Tommy. We invited him back again.
Yeah.
The second time.
Second time.
Returning.
And you know why I invited you back?
Confirmation.
You know why I invited you back?
Why is that?
Because I was talking to some other people.
Okay.
Coach Jamie was on last week.
Yep.
And she confirmed that she felt like it was also your first time.
Yeah.
Jamie's like this. She is like the end all be all voice.
I mean,
apparently.
she takes notes.
She does.
She takes notes. I trust Jamie.
Got the receipt.
She does
for
have
sure.
a
I trust Jamie. So if Jamie says it, I'm taking it to the bank. So I said, okay, well, fine. We'll bring him back on. It's done. 2 times. I don't want to hear anymore.
Yep.
And we'll never see you again.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, my goodness. Speaking of Jamie, on my way up here, she sent me a text message. And the text message was long, but it's basically was she was listening to the podcast, and she said that if I was so inclined to mention on today's pod that she was reluctant to first come to BC because she felt that the BC crew was super elite and would not be able to keep up. And she said how that ended when I said how that ended not being the case like I thought it was. But I failed to mention that everyone at BC welcomed me at my fitness level and helped me to get better. And I think every single person who has helped me, encouraged me, and has improved over the years, including the two of you. That's me giving hugs. She's got a little emoji, I guess, with hands. Ha ha. So I just wanted to throw that in there because she asked about it, and I just thought about her just now. And if I didn't do it now,
You wouldn't.
I would have forgotten.
Right.
And I wouldn't have done it at all.
That's it.
And then she would have told you.
And she would have said, I sent you that message, and you never...
She would have brought the receipts again.
She would have once again
Jamie's
brought
got
the
receipts.
receipts.
We love Jamie with the receipts.
Because what does she do?
Keeps receipts.
She keeps the receipts. So, welcome back, Tommy.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to
Appreciate
have
it.
you again. And
Glad
not
to be
only
here.
did we invite you back, but I basically gave you the pick of the litter.
You
I'll
did.
let you decide whether you want to do it this week or next week.
Yeah.
Right?
You did.
I did. So, now that you're here,
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you're going to bring the heat.
Don't I always?
I told we had a team meeting at the beginning of the month, and I was like, "Hey guys, the Google reviews are important. We need to get those. We're trying to always grow, right? So if you're not moving forward,
Staying still.
standing still, which inevitably means you're moving backwards,
Right.
right? So, I was like, hey, just get with your clients, get with all your athletes, just ask them. The worst thing they do is just don't do it.
Right.
But you'd be surprised or whatever. And so Tommy spoke to his athletes, and like the next day I start seeing these Google reviews popping up. Like, oh my God, Tommy's the best coach in the world. Oh, by the way, we do it at BC. Go. 5 stars, Tommy.
Hey, man.
Definitely would recommend.
I'm just trying to follow in Carlos's footsteps.
Right. Right.
So
That's smart. That's
Yep.
smart. See, that's the thing is you gotta almost create this this mystique about you,
yeah,
right? And you have that, right? Now you're gonna have the Google mystique,
the Google mystique.
the
There you
5-star Google mystique.
go. Right. I like that.
Yeah. They can't see your eyes squint.
I know.
The
They
intensity look.
can't. They can't.
Just so you know.
Well, that adds to my mystique.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
look
They
at you.
can't see it.
Yeah.
They can just imagine it.
Oh, that's good stuff.
That's
You know
good,
what I mean?
Tommy.
That's
That's
good
good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, today, since Tommy is back in the saddle, as it were, he and I were talking as we were coming in here. And, how long has it been since we've raced together?
2 years, at
2
least.
years. Oh, wow.
Maybe 2.5.
It's our 2-year anniversary coming up, actually. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
It would be our 2-year
20
anniversary of when you broke up with me. So, today I was kind of laughing. Not
Yes.
kind of.
Yeah.
I was definitely laughing.
Right.
And I was doing it in the face of my current race partner.
Yep.
Because she was talking about what races we were going to do. Let's talk about it. And I thought we'd already had that conversation. We'd already
Right.
decided upon it. But then I guess I made a kind of a underhanded comment. You know how I do.
You?
Sure.
When we run-
No.
When we run, I say the worst things at the worst time.
Yeah.
Correct? Didn't I do it this Saturday?
I mean, you got to find a scab and pick it.
That's it.
You know what I
We
mean?
were running,
Find a
and I think we were
scab
talking
and
about like
pick it.
like older people or something like that,
Right.
and how like something about I forgot who was the one that was talking about old people, and they said something, and then I like really loudly said something about like old people being grumpy and crotchety as we were running past 2 people
Who were
who were older,
Got it.
right? So it was like perfect, and then I didn't realize
Timing.
it until we were past, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's why you don't get the smiles or the
right.
what's up,
That's
you
it.
know, while we run.
I never get that, and I try so hard to get
Try
it.
so hard. You
I
get
do.
the howdy.
I give
hey.
them howdy. I give them
Yeah.
good morning,
Good morning.
buenos dias.
Yes.
I tip my cap,
That's it. Yeah.
and all I get is just like these
Yeah.
most of the time.
I mean, that's what happens when you say that to older, grumpy people.
I know, right? Or you threaten to karate chop somebody inadvertently, right?
Exactly.
So Tommy comes in today. It's like he could feel the force, a disturbance in the force. He could feel a disturbance in the force, and he's like, "Hey, man, I was thinking we should run together." But you said Houston.
Yes, I did say Houston.
You said
'Cause
Houston.
I'm committed for Dallas. You know.
Yeah, you've already
Run it again with Carlos.
You
yeah.
took your first choice.
Okay.
Right? You got
Okay.
your first choice. Right? Why would you pick, say, Carlos for Dallas?
Why would I
What
pick?
would be one of the reasons why? Any particular reason?
We have some unfinished business
Yeah.
to do. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some change to steal.
Okay.
So that's where it's going to happen.
Are you still going to be in the same age group, or are you going to level up?
No, we're not.
You leveling up?
Leveling up. So
Uh-huh.
at that point, we will be qualified for the 50 and up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Wow.
You might get
old
carded, though.
dudes.
Let's be honest, bro. The two of you are going to get carded. You're going to be in there, and they're going to be calling you to the podium, and everybody's going to be screaming, "Those dudes aren't 50. That's bull. No way, man."
hey, man, with the oil and the
baby oil?
the baby oil,
Like Carlos
and
uses? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's just going to roll down our backs.
Of course.
Yeah.
Are you going to go mustachioed?
I don't
You
know.
perform
It is
better
in
with a
November.
mustache.
Yeah, it might be. It is November, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah. You perform
Yep.
better with a mustache. I just want to let you know.
I think so.
I like to call him
Mustache
the Latin
Tommy.
Tom Selleck.
Yeah, so-
But he looks more Latin with his mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
It's probably going to happen.
Yeah, for at least,
At least
for
for
a
the
month,
month.
you don't need to
At
make out
least
with
for
your
the
wife.
month.
It's not a big deal.
She'll be okay.
You can go without.
Yeah.
Without sugar. So my wife has learned to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right. So I shaved my head the other day, and it was really like bald short, on the sides and stuff on the back.
Yeah.
And so she was like, we were in bed or what have you, and she started rubbing the back of my. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so smooth." And so I I rubbed my head, the side of my head, on her cheek, and she didn't think it was so smooth anymore. She's like, "Ow!" So I have to keep it longer, because if I keep it like that,
Yeah.
it's so coarse.
It's bristly.
It's very
Yeah.
bristly. It'll literally, it's like sandpaper.
Sandpaper, right.
Or you get a hair splinter.
Exfoliating.
Yeah, that's what I told her.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm making your skin more beautiful.
That's it.
Right? So I'm helping her grow.
Yeah.
I'm helping her grow. That's what I do best. So I'm excited. Tommy and I will be back in the saddle again. That'll be good. Mm-hmm. That'll be good. So today, what are we talking about today, guys? We're back in that performance lab. Is that we've been doing, right? We started a series last week about the performance lab. So this will be week 2. Did you listen to the podcast last week?
I did.
Oh, thank God. Whew.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So what do you feel like kind of as a listener and not talking, what do you feel like the direction we were going with that, like with Performance Lab?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Looking to take your running to the next level? Whether you're just getting started or chasing the next PR, my dad, Coach James, and BC Fitness have you covered. Join our in-person or online run coaching. Plug into our free weekly run club and train alongside a community that's built different. From HYROX and OCR to daily group fitness classes at our Houston gym. This is where athletes are made. Come run with us, train with us, grow with us. Visit mybcfit.com and start building your best.
Well, I think, as far as training is concerned, athletes approach fitness and training completely different.
Yeah.
Athletes focus more on performance as opposed to aesthetics. And they're constantly looking at how can I improve? What's the tweak that I need in order to level up my performance and get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And, the trivial, how am I looking through all this stuff? It kind of goes by the wayside. And I don't know. I think as an athlete, your training, it does have more focus behind it.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No. So I think, I think one of the cool things about, the day and age we live in when it comes to athletics or sport is all the technology and all the studies that have done, and they're constantly doing new studies, and there's all these supplements and leg ups that you can take, and from nutrition to hydration to recovery, whatever. But I think one of the big things, so we always talk about the 80-20 principle, and about how 80% of your training should be at a very low intensity, which allows you to have more volume, and then 20% should be really, really uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And so, as we're talking about thinking of training like an athlete, I feel like a big part of performance and being an athlete is understanding that you truly can't get stronger or you can't get faster unless you learn how to get uncomfortable. Right. And that's in different aspects, right? So, I've had clients before where I was trying to get them to slow down and it was super uncomfortable for them to slow down.
Yeah.
Right. It was like, oh my God, I can't do this if I go any slower. It hurts my knees to run slow, Sure. But on the flip side of it, when it's time to do strength training or it's time to do speed effort, it's gonna
be very uncomfortable.
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. So, learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable is a big part of learning how to get stronger and ultimately get faster as well, right? So the reality is simply that your current fitness, right, is perfectly designed for the stress your body can currently handle, okay? But if you want to get faster or stronger, you have to overload that system, right? We call it progressive overload. Right. So you do it over a certain period of time. So if you want different results, you're going to have to put in different stressors, right?
Sure.
Maybe another way to put it is you're gonna have to demand more of yourself. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to do it through like reckless training, and I think that's a lot of times, people who want to do like really special things, right? Or they want to go out and run a marathon or a HYROX sub 60,
right?
They want to do that. They start just stacking tons and tons of different things, and they're just kind of throwing things at the dartboard or what have you. So there's not like any kind of plan for it. But when they do that, oftentimes they get burnt out, they overtrain, so they get injured. Mm-hmm. So they're going through like these different cycles, and so they can't be consistent, and then they ultimately don't ever really get any better.
I mean, oftentimes what they think is hard isn't necessarily really hard.
I do find that, yes.
I think that is a huge part of it.
You get done with it and you're sweating and you feel productive, but if you're not having a conversation with yourself, if you're not negotiating with yourself during the workout,
it's probably not that hard.
It's probably not that hard, right? Yeah. So I mean, you need to have those conversations in your head and going, oh man, maybe I can like ease up on this, or I'm not feeling comfortable. I mean, you need that.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I like looking at examples kind of in nature. Like take like a butterfly. You've got a caterpillar. Mm-hmm. It develops its chrysalis, and then if you were to cut that chrysalis open mm-hmm. and help the butterfly to come out, the butterfly would not be able to fly because it wouldn't survive because it needs the stress of breaking through to strengthen its wings in order to become something new.
Right.
Oh, that was gorgeous, Tommy.
So
beautiful. I liked that.
I'm a poet, man.
Wow. You should have Tommy on more often.
I see James and he's got his eyes closed. And he's like,
they've rolled back to the back of his head, guys. They've fully gone back.
Yeah.
I'm imagining a mustached
butterfly
wearing a black ball cap.
That's it, man.
Getting into a chrysalis and then emerging with black wings.
Beautiful black wings.
And a little hair in their eye.
Yeah,
or the antenna hanging right over his eye. Saying, tonight is the night.
That's it, man.
So, yes, that's exactly right. So it's that stress, right, that it helps really take you to the next level and allow your body the time to adapt. Right. So your body's always in a state of adaptation, right? So no matter what you're doing, right, you're learning something new, you adapt to it, you learn something else, right? I was having a conversation with an athlete yesterday, actually, and we were talking about, they were talking about not eating before they run, or mm-hmm. They don't feel like eating food after they work out, and so I was like, well, you know why that is? And they said, oh yeah, I just don't like to do that. And I was like, no, it's what you've trained your body to do.
Yeah.
So you've become adapted to it. So you know what would happen if you started like eating little meals or little foods, like little things or whatever here and there before and after? You would start getting hungrier for more.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you'd be able to eat more, right? So, it takes your body about 4 to 6 weeks to adapt to any type of new stimulus. And, we've even, there's, the law of the habit, right? Where it takes 21 days to develop a habit. So it's like basically the whole point is it's going to take you multiple weeks to get to a place of adaptation before it becomes like part of your ability.
Right.
And so once you adapt to it, well, then you have to increase stimulus, increase volume, increase intensity, so that you can continue to grow and keep moving forward, right? So, I think the bottom line or the baseline question is, what are you preparing for? Yeah. One of the things we always say about a race is we don't do anything new on
race day.
On race day, right?
Yeah.
And so, oftentimes we're talking about shoes and socks, but we're also talking about nutrition, right? But we're also talking about how you feel,
right?
Yep.
Right. We want to try to, emulate how we might feel in a race.
Sure.
Right. We want to put ourselves in the same types of positions we might be in a race, so that we can become adapted to it, so we know how to work through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you want to be going into the race, and when things start to get hard, you recognize it and go, okay, it's here. You expect it. And
so it's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
So if you go in with that mindset, you've trained for it, you've trained what hard feels like. Once it shows up, it's not a surprise, and you can just, adapt to that moment, essentially.
Yeah.
That way it just doesn't throw you off.
Yeah. Well, I think of one particular person. They were training for a marathon, and so we were building volume, we're doing all the things, and one of the things they really struggled with, I felt like at a point, was that when things started to get a little tough, they would always have a proclivity to go back to a certain pace. There was like one pace that was like their comfort pace.
Oh, okay.
So no matter what, that was the pace they would run.
Right.
And so I would give them like a progression run, and it was supposed to go here, get a little bit faster toward the end, right? Like 3, 2, 1, like 3 miles at this pace, 2 miles at this pace, 1 mile at this pace. But ultimately, they would just run all the miles at the same pace for the most part, right?
Gotcha.
And so anything past that, if they started, they would just get uncomfortable and they would fall back onto it. And so I was like, listen, here's the deal. This is our goal race pace. This is the pace we want to ultimately run. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to create, in a very short period of time, that race day feeling.
Sure.
And learn how to push through it and continue to, whether it's quickening your cadence, driving your knees, picking up your heels, or, steadying your mind, whatever it's going to take to teach yourself that you can keep going in spite of, right? Yeah. And so I was like, listen, even if it's like this week you run the 3 perfectly, and then the next one you speed up the 15 seconds you're supposed to, and then you fall back into the 6:30. That's fine, because the next week you're going to do 2 miles.
Sure.
And the next week you're going to do 3, and eventually you'll get it. And so eventually we got to the place where they nailed it. I mean, it was like perfect, like 3 miles at 6:30, 2 miles at 6:10 or something like that, and then 1 mile like 5:55 or something like that. So they just they nailed it. It was perfect. And what was crazy, it was so cool. In the race, they went and did, and it was for a half. They were training for a half marathon. In the half marathon, the last 6 miles, that's exactly how they ran them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
So they literally did, just because they had repeated it so much.
Yeah.
On the last 6 miles of the race, so I guess it was the last 3 miles, because they were running the race pace the whole time.
Sure.
So the last 3 miles is what it went. So they did 2 miles at that pace that was a little bit faster, and they did the last mile at that last pace. So it looked just like the last 6 miles looked just like their workout that they had done.
Wow.
Because they had repeated it so much, they had convinced themselves they could do it after working through it, and the race looked just like their training did.
Wow.
And obviously they got like a huge PR or whatever. And when they sent me the workout, or when they sent me the race or what have you, I was like, did you notice anything about the end of the race? They said, yes. I wanted to see if I wanted to say something, but I wanted to see if you saw it first or something like that.
Sure.
And I was, I noticed it. It looks just like your training. So what you do in your training will be repeated in your race.
Yeah.
If you don't run enough volume and you get into your race, guess what's going to happen?
You're
You're
fall
going to
apart.
crash and burn.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
If you run fast in the beginning of your runs and you run slow at the end of your runs, what do you think is going to happen in your race?
Same thing.
You're going to do the exact same thing. Yeah. So you don't do anything new on race day. So that means you have to prepare yourself for all the things that are going to happen when it comes to the race efforts.
Right.
Well, and your brain, your body and your brain are going to work. Survival is the instinct. So in a really stressful environment, in a stressful situation, your brain is going to initially tell you to ease up, slow down, or do whatever it needs to do to preserve itself. So you do need to put yourself in those really tough situations so your brain can actually work through that situation.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, when you get to race day, when you start to feel that hurt or when you start to feel that major discomfort, your brain is going to say, we need to ease up. This is bad. Like, this is going to end up bad.
I can't tell you any race I've ever done where there wasn't a moment where my brain was telling me, you don't want to
You're an
do
idiot.
this is dumb. You're hurting so bad.
Yep.
You could make the pain stop right now. I've had moments where I've had thoughts of like, I hope my hamstring pops. Right? Or like, I hope I strain something, you know?
I don't have to.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or I hope, so then I have a good excuse because if I get injured, it's not my fault.
It's so dark.
I didn't give up.
It's true.
Right? I'm assuming that's what's going on and
Your
why.
body failed you.
Right? And so, my body just gave up on me
Gave
because
up
I'm
on
old.
me. At least it wasn't because I gave up. No, my body gave up on me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did the best I could with what I had, you know?
Right.
So I've had thoughts like that run through my head.
Sure.
You know, oh, well, you know what? Even if you slow up, you know, it'll still be a good time, you know, whatever. And so those thoughts go through your mind. And the only thing that helps you to work through that is by putting yourself in similar situations.
Sure.
So that you learn how to tell your head to shut the crud up.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not in charge of this thing.
Right.
Right?
Well, I mean, I've told one of my athletes, in fact, that a lot of these hard workouts it's exposure therapy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It works. You're getting exposed so that way you can push the fight or flight reflex further and further out. You know, to get your body to get used to that feeling, and that way it doesn't panic.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and honestly, so I think that's the big thing. When you mentioned it, when you said it earlier, I don't think most people know what hard really is.
right. No,
Okay? Because they're always in that gray zone. They're always doing like things that aren't
Mildly
easy,
uncomfortable.
Right? They're mildly uncomfortable. And the moment you put them in a place or a workout or a situation where it's really tough, they usually bail on you.
Yeah.
Right? So I had a group I was working with last week or the week before or something like that. And it's a short workout. It wasn't a long workout. It's like maybe a 15-minute workout. And so I had explained how I wanted it done. I explained what the goal of the workout was. And I said, all right, let's go. As many rounds as we can go. Right? You were there.
Yep.
And so we're going through it. And, you know, I'm huffing and puffing. My heart rate's high. You know, I'm trying to get through everything as quick as I can. And then, you know, I was catching up to people and whatever. So I got on the bike at the same time some other people were. And they were having a conversation. They were literally sitting there talking to each other, right, on the bike. I didn't say anything at the time.
Sure.
And so we finished the workout, and so I was asking them how many rounds and everything else. And so, you know, there weren't as many rounds as maybe what we wanted to get done. And so I was like, if you're talking during this workout, you're not going hard enough.
Sure.
Right? So there was way too much comfort in the hard workout that it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so many people, they stack these workouts. So they'll do a workout like that, but instead of it being 15 minutes, it'll be 2 hours.
Right.
So they'll do the same workout over the course of an hour, hour and a half with all these breaks. They're videoing. They're talking to their friends. They're got to pick the right music for this next set or this next rep.
Right.
You know, and then the video you see is them going hard.
Yeah.
But that's like a short snippet.
It's a minute of a collective of like 60 plus, sometimes 2 hours.
Right. Yeah. So when the what's the goal of the workout? It first has to be established.
Sure.
And then when you establish the goal of the workout, well, how do I get to that goal?
Yeah.
And then you put parameters around it, and then you hit it and get it.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, I think one of the benefits that that you explained is, you know, we are training this specific energy system.
Yeah.
If you're not in this energy system, you're not getting the adaptation that you need.
Exactly.
For this workout.
You're not meeting the goal.
Yeah. This is not that type of workout. So by having that going in, again, training like an athlete, knowing what's expected before you get into it, it just helps guide you along.
Right.
You know?
No, for sure. Well, I mean, what I've found out is in racing, you don't rise to the occasion.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. You fall back to the level of your training.
Sure.
And so, you know, your body adapts to the demands that you repeatedly place on it.
Right.
And so repetition is key, right? So that's also why we do like training blocks. That's one of the reasons why, you know, we'll have 4 weeks and we'll do either the same or of a kind workouts 4 times in a row.
Right.
Because we said it takes 4
to 6 weeks.
to 6 weeks for your body to adapt. Well, if you don't do the same workout over a period of 4 weeks, how can your body adapt to it?
Sure.
So, you know, back in the day, I mean, I know people still say dumb stuff like this too, but, you know, what muscle
confusion.
Yeah. Muscle confusion.
Right.
That's right. We got to trick these muscles into getting strong.
That's right. You
like-
don't know what you're gonna.
That's right. Now you see me, now you don't. Abracadabra, strong.
Yeah.
And that's actually not a thing, right? So, you know, progressive overload, periodization training,
Sure.
specificity. Those are all things that are very important. And it actually creates the strength that you want. And then it's controlled too, right? So, when we say you want to make it harder each week, or when we say of a kind, or we're saying the same workout, it's the same workout with a little bit more either intensity or weight load or volume,
Time.
right? So it's increased a little bit to make it more challenging so that you can get better.
Yeah.
So, but you also have to understand, and I think this is probably for most people are like, okay, I get it. I got to do hard workouts. I'm doing hard workouts. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Right. You're telling me I need to not do hard workouts. You're telling me all the time I need to work out easier.
Right.
So what we're saying is you need to have a higher volume of easy workouts, and then you need to have a small volume of where you're going like all out maximum effort type, that are specific to your energy system, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So productive stress is not the same as unnecessary destruction.
Right.
Okay. So having a plan, having specificity, and having a goal for each individual workout, so being intentional with the things that you're doing, is way different than just trying to be like wreck your body,
Right.
To get stronger or get better.
I mean, hard workouts are super easy to program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you can just stack one thing on top of the other and have 20 things on a list, and that's hard. But I also just talking with some people I've talked with recently who all their workouts are hard. When you ask them their workouts, I just go hard every day.
Yeah.
Well, if you were truly going hard every day, I don't think you could go every day. I don't think your body couldn't live up to that task. You would get hurt. You would be too tired. You would be dragging. There's no way each of these workouts is truly hard. There's a lot of lack.
I saw a guy the other day. I was actually talking to Arturo about it, but he's some influencer dude or something, and he's like, "Come with me to learn how to run sub 60 HYROX." Now, first of all, he's 21, 22, something like that, so he's young.
Sure.
So that helps a little bit.
Just a smidge.
I have no earthly idea what his background is.
Okay.
Right? But he was like, compromised HYROX workout in the morning. So he ran. And so it was like a treadmill to a push to lunges or whatever, and then intervals at night. He didn't say what the interval were. He didn't say how many intervals, what the distance was. He just said running intervals at night, right? Okay. So he's doing 2-a-days. Okay. Then on Tuesday he did a bike ride in the morning, a 60-minute bike ride, zone 2. He actually said zone 2 was his word. He's like, I'm learning to love the bike or something like that. Okay. And then heavy weight training in the afternoon. And then a threshold run in the evening, right? And I don't know how long the threshold was. I don't know what the pace was. He didn't list that, right? And then the next day was similar. It was intervals and weight training. Always got to hit chest, something like that. And it was like that almost every single day. And then I think one day he rode the bike for an hour and a half or something like that. So he was getting 2 or 3 efforts a week of zone 2 training. Okay. But everything else was looked like it was fairly intense.
Right.
I don't know how long those durations were.
Right.
I don't know how intense some of the shorter durations were either.
Sure.
But what I did notice is that he had one of those leg sleeves on his right leg. So now I know a lot of people want to be cool, right? And so a lot of times people wear things to be cool.
Is that cool?
But I don't know if it is or not. But I also know that people wear those things because they have problems with their joints and their knees, and they're trying to quote unquote, work through it.
Right.
So I would put my number on about 99% of the people I've talked to that have some sort of compression sleeve on their leg or their ankle or their Achilles or whatever, that they're dealing with some sort of tendonitis, some sort of ache and pain, and they're trying to work through the pain.
Not making a fashion statement.
So that also tells me if that is the case, the workouts can't be that hard because they're hurting.
Right.
So they can't really push that hard. So they maybe push for a little bit, but then it starts to hurt and they have to ease up.
Or you're creating some major imbalances.
You're creating imbalances, and you're probably doing more damage than you are good.
Sure.
And
so you're going to be in that sleeve way longer.
And then in September, October, when it's race time, you're like, oh yeah, I wasn't able to race because I was hurt.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 five-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, you go on a lot of the socials and these like groups, and you see. I mean, this was like the first time that I've done this, like for like the Houston HYROX community on Facebook and like Dallas. There are so many people that are going into race day going, "Hey, I'm hurt. I can't race this week because training, stacking this and this and that, and now I'm hurt and I'm not able to race."
Yep.
And, I think we're pretty fortunate here in this community that the coaching, we kind of tamp down on that, that we want to make sure that before you add volume, you're doing the movement efficiently.
Right.
Because if you stack volume on top of a bad movement pattern, it's just going to expose that pattern or, ingrain it even further.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
yeah.
So you have to fix mobility issues, flexibility issues, imbalances,
Absolutely.
address those. But the downside about doing easy volume and working on mobility, weaknesses, and imbalances is that takes time.
It does.
And you can't run hard and do the cool workouts that you can put all over social media and become like an influencer darling.
Right.
That's not the cool stuff. Yeah. So, but those are the things, honestly, that if you do like regularly and you do consistently, like more of it throughout your training, the better you're going to get.
Right.
Because when you do go hard, you're less likely to get injured.
Right.
You're also less likely to get no repped, right? Because you can't do the range of motion. So you're not training bad movement. You're training like actual. I think Carlos said it one time. He's like, you can do wall balls all day long, but if you don't have good form in your wall balls, you're just training to do bad wall balls.
Right.
Right. And you're training, and everybody cannot make the assumption that they're going to get a judge that's just going to
let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let them do whatever
Some
they want.
teenager that's like halfway looking over here.
Yeah. So I've never gotten one who let me get away with freaking anything.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also one of the challenges to, following these, plans on socials. There's one thing that they all, like the people that, have all these plans out there for you to purchase and, there's one assumption that they're all making is that your movement pattern is perfect.
Yeah.
Because they're telling you need to do this volume, you need to do that, you need to add this workout, you need to add this stressor, but they're all assuming that you've got your movement patterns locked in.
Yeah. Or that, and I'll be willing to bet even more so, they don't feel that that's important.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I can't tell you lately, I don't even know why. I've been seeing tons of these videos and tons of these people saying that like your body will adjust to what's best for you and you don't need to work on your form. You don't need to like correct, this.
Your body knows what to do.
Yeah, your body knows what to do and your body will work around. Just, listen to your body. Well, and one of them was actually they used a couple of elite athletes.
Okay.
Right? So one of them was with the arm swing. And it was one of the young ladies who has, she got the world record for the marathon. And she holds her arms really tight to her body.
Okay.
Right? So it's very tight here. And so her fists are almost to her jaw.
Okay.
And she doesn't really drive her elbows back, right? And traditionally, you talk about driving your elbows, bring your hands by your pockets. Yeah. She doesn't do that at all. Okay. And so they're like, see, you don't have to have perfect, or you don't have to run your arms a certain way to be fast.
Sure.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
And then the guy who just got the sub 2-hour marathon record, he like has this major collapse
Sure.
on the inside of his running step, right? And so, you know, they're like, see, you can pronate, you can supinate, you can do this. You don't have to fix that.
Right.
You can be fast. This guy, whatever. And then some people, and so they're talking through this. And so, yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can run fast.
Sure.
But if you work on that, which I bet you he does, I'd be willing to put money he does.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But if you work on that, you're less likely to get hurt. You can be more efficient.
Sure.
So just because you're able to be fast being inefficient doesn't mean that you couldn't be faster if you were more efficient.
Absolutely. I mean, that again, your efficiency, it is free fitness.
Yeah.
You can improve your efficiency and not do anything to your fitness level and still gain time.
Yeah, easy.
So,
I say it's easy.
It takes
time.
It takes effort. It takes
Effort.
effort, but again, you're not adding any additional stressors to your body.
Yeah.
Think of the first time. So Tommy and I raced HYROX Dallas for the first time together, right? We had no idea what we were doing. Zero inclinations of what the heck we were doing. We've never touched a skier. We'd never touched a rower. We barely touched a sled.
Yeah.
And we never did like things like wall balls. We did lunges, but not with very heavy weight or anything, right? We barely did squats too. I mean, maybe a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
A lot of OCR in the days.
It was just OCR, but we would do, heavy carries and, that was kind of the extent. Most of what we were doing was body weight and running.
Right.
And so we had no idea what the heck we were doing.
Sure.
And we still smashed it. We still went there. We're fast, right?
Yeah.
And I remember on the rower, us getting on the rower, we had worked our way all the way up from last place, from the first of the race to first place.
Sure.
When we got into the rower, right? So at the halfway point, we were in first.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how long we were in there, but it was a good amount of time when the team behind us came in.
Sure.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And who left first?
They did.
They left before us.
Sure.
So they got in after us and left before us by a good, significant margin.
Yeah.
Right? So we were just like, our efficiency on that rower was horrible.
Yeah.
And when we got off it, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was trashed. And it felt like we were there for like at least 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Well, now, because you've learned like efficiency on the rower,
Sure.
you've learned form.
Right.
Now you can go way faster for way longer, and you can come off and go out and run fast
fresh.
again.
And
not feel exhausted.
Right. It feels like kind of like you're regrouping in the race.
It's the recovery portion of the race.
Portion of the race. Yeah, for sure. And we're pulling at a much higher rate.
Yes.
You know,
right. So the stroke count is lower, right? But the split is higher.
Higher for sure. Yeah.
And it's more because it's more efficient. You're going faster.
Right.
So efficiency is like such a big. I mean, same thing on the skier. Same thing on the wall balls.
Right.
You know, if you watch, there's a video of us that you can watch, and there's a box under my butt. The bucket they pulled out because apparently I wasn't going low enough.
Right.
The bucket.
And that was another position where we came in. I think we had like a good 10 or 15 wall balls.
Probably. Yeah.
Before the next team came in behind us.
Yeah.
And they caught up to us really quick. Now, some of it is because we were getting no repped.
Yeah.
Right? And other parts of it were just because we were slow.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing.
No.
And we were inefficient.
Sure.
Now, you turn that around, and now we just did HYROX Houston or what have you. Some of us went unbroken.
Sure.
We did the wall balls in like 3.5 minutes or something like that.
Right.
So you go from, and that's not just because we're fitter or stronger. We're technically 5 years older.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So we should not be better. We should be. I mean, traditionally, we should be worse at it.
Right.
But because of the efficiency, working on mobility has been a huge portion,
without a doubt,
of getting better at that particular movement and learning what muscles to engage, and building endurance and like your hip flexors and your core and stuff. So, but to go from that's all efficiency. That wasn't even fitness. That was just learning how to do the movement better.
Exactly.
So, so I think that's baseline to be able to do the hard stuff is that you have to have a firm. So that's what the 80-20 is all about. 80% is building your aerobic capacity, your foundation of mobility, flexibility, and then strength.
All the things that support the hard stuff.
Exactly. So that you can go in and do the hard things and actually make them
Hard.
Yeah.
Like soul crushing to an extent hard.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right? So I always find it so funny that when, I start training people, the hardest part is to get them to slow down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then once you get them to slow down and they're comfortable running easy,
Hardest part is feeding them up.
yeah, the hard part
Getting them to actually hit the
is
pace.
like, you want me to run how fast?
Yeah.
Like, you can do it, I promise you.
Sure.
Nope, this is too fast for me. I was like, and they just make up their own paces.
Yeah.
And look at your heart, dude. Look at your heart rate. Okay? This is the one time I don't care what your heart rate is, unless it's too low.
Yeah.
So hit the pace. You can do it. You just gotta work through it. I promise. We're doing progressive overload. And, it takes some time, but eventually you get them to get it and understand it, and they start working through it. And, you start small, and then eventually, had a guy, I was coaching for a marathon, and, he had tons of fitness, like so much fitness. And he was already pretty fast, right? And he had a really big goal, or he has a really big goal that he wanted to hit. And so, when I was looking at, we were talking about some of the workouts he had done in the last one he had ran. And in my mind, I was thinking to myself, bro, you're not pushing yourself at all.
Yeah.
And you're going too hard on the easy stuff.
Sure.
Right? So he'd had some injury stuff, what have you. So we worked through all that. All we were doing was easy stuff to the beginning for the most part, built up that volume. And then it was time to go like on the hard stuff. Mm-hmm. And like the first workouts we did was like a 15-minute tempo run. And he couldn't finish it.
Okay.
He would stop halfway through, wouldn't hit the pace. He would hit the pace, but he would take breaks. So he's doing intervals, not threshold runs, right?
Right, yeah.
And then he would still slow down at the end of the run.
Sure.
Okay. So now you fast forward, and he's doing, 40-minute threshold runs. He's doing like 8-mile progressive runs, and he's nailing the paces.
Yeah.
And I have to remind him sometimes when he's like, man, that was so hard, dude. That was so tough. And I was like, yeah, but you finished it, and you got faster at the end. Yeah, but dude, it was like crushing my soul. I was like, do you remember when we would do the 15-minute runs and they were slower? These paces were slower, and you were like, you wouldn't even finish them.
Sure.
So not only it should feel like it's soul crushing. That's the point.
Yeah.
Because at some point, especially if you're doing something like HYROX, or a half marathon, or a marathon, at some point in that race, you're going to question your life choices.
Sure.
And it is going to hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And you're going to come to a place where you're going to have to make a choice. Am I going to push through the wall, or am I going to give up?
Right.
And most people end up kind of mailing it in. They give up.
Yeah.
And they slow way down. And, sometimes it's because they don't have a choice, because their body breaks down because they didn't prepare for the pace or something like that. But other times it is just simply
A mental
it
wall. It gets too scary to push through it.
Right.
Sure.
So, or they just they haven't learned how to do that, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, working on their form, focusing on, being efficient, because as we get fatigued, your form falls apart.
Sure.
If you're running, you need to come back to those basics, come back to those drills, start, doing the drills back out and pick that pace back up.
Yeah. So the question then I can't think becomes, okay, well, how do you do that? Okay, so you're telling us to run easy. You're telling us we got to go really hard. Well, what does that even look like? How do I even begin to put that together?
Well, got to get a coach, I would say.
I'd say
Honestly.
That's always the good answer.
I mean, getting a coach is definitely like, if you want to take a lot of the guesswork out and you want to just make sure you're doing it right, seek out the help. Like, just like you wouldn't hopefully not go straight to WebMD and self-medicate, because that's always scary. You would hopefully go see a doctor. So same thing, if you really don't know what to do and you're just overwhelmed, seek out someone who can guide you. I would say learn your data. I think data is a huge thing that you can go back and look at, know what your heart rate is, figure out what your zone 2 is, research what your data is, research what the terms mean, and kind of maybe start educating yourself there.
Fall back on the golden rules of running and volume. Mm-hmm. Don't increase any more than 10% of a weekly volume or intensity. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you are doing progressive overloads, and having a plan to also plan in your recovery.
So I always tell people, this workout sets you up for the next workout.
Right.
So if you do something easy, you're set up to do something a little more challenging, right? If you do something challenging, you definitely need to be doing something more recovery specific.
Yeah.
And so, but if you realize, you alluded to this earlier, and we talked about it in our cohort the other day, but if you realize what energy systems you're using in whatever event is. And so if you know what energy systems you're going to be utilizing, then you have an understanding of what you need to train.
Right.
What do you need to focus on? So HYROX, 10K, half marathon, those are very lactate threshold specific movements, right? So that means, yes, you have to have a huge aerobic volume, but then you also need to train your lactate threshold.
Sure.
Okay, so if you're looking at your heart rate, that's zone 4. And so that means you need to spend some of your time in zone 4 for an extended period of time.
Right.
Now, one of the things that was interesting, one of my athletes reached out to me and they asked me, they were like, hey, have you heard of, I think it was maximum velocity? I think that's what it was, maximum velocity. And I was like, isn't that like when you jump out of a plane or something?
Right.
Oh, my bad. That was terminal velocity.
Yeah, okay.
And they were like, no, it's like in running. So I looked it up. And really what it was just another, you know how sometimes different coaches have different terms.
Okay.
You know, different groups have, you know, whatever. But basically it's like threshold training.
Okay.
So, you know, based off of the system that I learned and like the pace charts and stuff I utilize, you know, zone 2 to zone 3 is aerobic training. The goal is usually be zone 2 a lot because it's much easier on your body. Your body will be more efficient at burning fat as an energy source. But in zone 3, you're using oxygen still, so it's aerobic. Zone 4 is your lactate threshold. And so, but if you look at like the different like running paces or training efforts, you've got a tempo run, you've got threshold efforts, and you've got anaerobic efforts. Okay, so those anaerobic efforts usually fall into like the shorter distances, like 400
sprinting.
to 600 meters, right? Somewhere in there. We call them short intervals.
Yeah.
And so what that basically means is you're probably in zone 5.
Yeah.
Okay, for a good amount of that, but it's short. It's for a very short period of time. You're talking 60 to 90 seconds, maybe. You know,
Right.
maybe 120 seconds if you're maybe on the not as fast end.
Yeah.
Long intervals are closer to like a threshold effort. Right. So a long interval is going to put you in zone 4, but it's going to put you kind of like usually if you're doing a long interval, which is like 800 meters up to about 2,000 meters, you're going to be in that like middle to upper level of zone 4.
Right.
Okay. And you might even
hit some of the
hit zone 5 toward the end of the workout.
Right.
Okay. And so if you realize that and you're able to hit all the paces, well, then you know, okay, I'm within the realm.
Right.
But if you get to rep 2 and you're already in zone 5 and then you're slowing down, well, then you should know, okay, it's too fast.
Right.
Okay. So you can kind of use that as a measuring stick to see, am I actually meeting the goal of this workout?
Right.
Because a lot of people, it amazes me. I'll ask them, hey, what pace are you running for their intervals? And they'll tell me a pace. And then I'll ask them, well, did you run that for everyone? And it's like, oh, no, I slowed down a little bit at the end. And then you look at the end was like the last half of the workout.
Sure.
It's like, well, what you're telling me is the best you did. You're not telling me what your average was.
Right.
And what we want to know is what can you maintain for every single rep.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're not able to maintain it for every single rep,
Right.
then we need to assess and find out, is it too fast or are you quitting?
Sure. Yeah. It shows itself so much. And I hate going back to HYROX only, but it shows up in running, the marathon and those distances as well. But the lunges, it shows
how many people
it shows
collapse.
Its ugly head, right at that station. I saw an article that perceived rate of like effort or how hard each station was, and lunges rate was rated consecutively 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like the hardest station.
Yeah.
Because by that time, people are on tired legs. Things are cramping up.
Yep.
That bag just feels awful.
You've got weight on top of your shoulders. You're hunching over. You can't breathe.
Yeah.
So it shows up whenever you don't train the system for the amount of time that you're going to be in that system.
Right. Exactly.
So
you have to be in your threshold.
Yeah.
For an extended period of time.
Right.
And you have to train that. So if you are doing something like a tempo run,
Right.
Okay. Well, that is a lot of times tempo/threshold efforts are kind of synonymous, and they're kind of thought of as the same thing, but they're not.
Right.
So a tempo run usually is a faster paced run that is very manageable, right? So think marathon, half marathon effort. So that means you're at the top of your zone 3, bottom of zone 4.
Right.
So you're probably going to be in zone 3 for a chunk of it. You might dip into zone 4 for a little bit. So that is that's that gray area where most people live.
Right.
Okay. That's the place where usually most people run all the time.
Right.
Well, that's not where you want to be a bunch of the time.
Yeah.
Right. So a traditional threshold effort is something you can maintain steady state for an extended period of time, and that time based on your experience level or your current fitness level, 15 to 30 minutes. As high as maybe 60 minutes based on your volume.
Right.
Okay. So that's middle of zone 4 for the most part.
Right.
Maybe to the top of zone 4. That was their maximum velocity. That's what that term kind of went with. And so, when we are training HYROX, that maximum velocity or that threshold effort is something we need to spend a lot of time in.
Sure.
But understanding that in the burpees, probably in the lunges, definitely in the wall balls, you're probably going to dip into zone 5.
Right.
Okay? So you may not be there long, but you're probably going to. So what does that mean? You need to train.
You got to be familiar with what that feels like.
What zone 5 feels like, right?
And that way you don't
so if
freak
you
out.
put a percentage on it, well, then maybe it's 15-5.
Yeah.
So 80% easy, 15% threshold, 5% anaerobic.
Right.
Well, that kind of gives you a concept of, well, let's break it down by mileage or by hours or whatever, by time on, okay, I need to spend this much time each week training that system.
Sure.
Right? So that gives you some good parameters to work within so that you can actually create a periodization. You can actually create a system and a plan so that you are training properly.
Right.
So I think it would definitely help, right? Because some of this stuff, like we just mentioned about the zones and the short intervals and long intervals, people don't know what their short interval is. They don't know what their long.
No.
They don't know the pacing, right?
Sure.
To a lot of people, a 6-minute pace to a 6:15 pace shouldn't be that big a deal to be a difference.
Right.
But we all know
15 seconds makes a
15
lot of
seconds
difference.
it's a lot harder to run.
Feel very different.
Right?
Sure.
So whereas you may be able to run, a 6:25, for 30, 40 minutes, you may only be able to run a 6:10 for 1,000 meters.
Sure.
Right? So you got to learn that. So getting a coach would help a lot.
For sure.
Right? But not all coaches are created equal.
Yeah.
So make sure you're getting a coach that actually has some sort of experience with that type of thing, and they're not just some rando coach online that's telling you they've ran 3 HYROXs and they can tell you how to get there.
Right.
Like this sub 60 kid that whatever. So you want to make sure that you're improving consistently, right? You don't ignore pain, right? You're not being reckless.
Right.
But you also got to learn that discomfort is part of growing.
Right.
And you're going to have to get comfortable being pretty uncomfortable.
Sure.
If you're going to do your best, right? So most people never discover what they're capable of, I think a lot of times because they spend their entire training life avoiding real discomfort.
Right.
So that growth is really going to come outside of your comfort zone, but not chaotically.
Sure.
Not through, injuries and, trying to get past the ego, but in a strategic plan of overload and stress.
Right. Yeah.
So
Not the gym bro kind of mentality of just going hard because go one. I mean,
go one
go
more.
one more.
Go one more.
Man. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to go on my soapbox, but
I think some of that's,
I like it, and yes, you do have to.
There's a time and a place.
You have to push through.
Yes.
You are capable of much more than typically you're able to do, or that for the most part, people are more capable than they give themselves credit for.
That is very
I
true.
would fully agree. Yeah.
And I think you gotta when you look at the surface level, right? So like David Goggins, right? He's insane in the membrane.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there are some things that he says that more people need a little bit of.
Absolutely.
Right? Push your self-discipline.
Yeah.
Right? But not to the point where your knee is falling off and your leg is broken and you don't have any freaking cartilage in your knees anymore.
Yeah.
And you run no matter what. Be hard.
Well, and I think it also comes back to like, so for a while, I think there was a huge, and I kind of fell in this category for a while. There's a lot of like hate on people who were not in the CrossFit community, like people who like kind of like poo-pooed on the CrossFit community because they just thought it was basically a big old Goggins mentality of just like keep lifting heavy, you're only going to get hurt. It's just like for, you know, big buff people doing big hard things. But really at the core, a lot of the movements that are like foundational movements in CrossFit are very good for your body and are very important. But what tends to happen, just like with Goggins and like the do one more thing, you take these things, these foundational things that are actually very good for you, and you blow them out of proportion. They get taken out of context, or we just intensify them into a culture that can be very dangerous.
Yeah, you let your ego.
Yeah, you let your ego lead.
Dictate your.
Yes.
Your
I mean, we
training
have
plan.
a motto: maximum effort.
Yeah,
right. We
for
say it a lot of times
For
before
sure.
races. We say it before
Yeah.
workouts. Does that mean
Always go super
always
crazy.
maximum effort? No. What it means is we're doing the best we can until we can do better, and then we do that.
Right.
So today, my best may be that the assignment is to go out and run for an hour at zone 2.
Yeah.
So my maximum effort for that day
Is
is
that
zone
zone
2
two.
for an
That's
hour.
it.
Sure.
Not for 45 minutes.
Right.
Not for, 20 minutes. It's an hour, right? So that's my maximum effort.
Right.
Tomorrow, it may be a 30-minute threshold run at a 6-minute pace.
Sure.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So it just depends. And so the maximum effort is more of a mindset than it is like everything needs to be as hard as you can go
Right.
all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think if you can get a hold of this stuff, right, and you can realize, okay, first of all, you got to think of yourself as an athlete.
Yeah,
It means you
absolutely.
train, sleep, eat,
Sleep.
recover,
Recover for sure.
and be intentional with everything that you do. And if you do, the results will speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And then understand that, in the training, you have to plan in discomfort. You have to plan in how to be uncomfortable, because in the race, that's how it's going to happen. If you're going to get the most out of your overall event. Right. So I want to ask you guys, what's one area of your training you've maybe been avoiding because it's uncomfortable? What's something that maybe you dread or you don't want to do because it's uncomfortable?
Tempo work for me.
Yeah.
Like I've started putting tempo work into my runs instead of doing like short interval work, and I don't love it. I mean, it's like not like the hardest effort I can do, but it's like holding that slightly uncomfortable pace for like a long period of time. I'm just like, ugh. I either want to like get it over with quick, or I just want to be able to go back to my zone 2 and chill out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's super hard. It's just annoying.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, it's a lot of times it's the recovery stuff.
Yeah.
Like the foam rolling.
That's weird because you're like, I consider you the recovery man.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely focus on like mobility and things like that, but like the actual, like the discomfort of like rolling out tight muscles is, it hurts. But no, I think some of the harder efforts, the wall balls, adding like at 30 pounds, like that scares the crap out of me. Some of the sled work that we were doing last training block, those scare me. Any time where I know it's not going to be necessarily that it's not going to be a strength of mine, if I'm being honest, if it's not about running, then it's something that it's not that I avoid, but it's not like my favorite to do.
Right. And so, I mean, I think when you have those types of things, there's two things you can do.
Yeah.
First thing you can do is get somebody that knows what they're doing to kind of really coach you through it, hold you accountable. I think the second thing is to not do it alone.
Absolutely.
That helps
for
so
sure.
much.
That helps a lot because number one, they can, especially if they're either a little bit faster than you or they're at the same level as you, y'all can work together and push each other along.
Right.
On top of it, you're becoming accountable to each other, right? So, I mean, we'll have workouts where we get together and we kind of drag our feet and we kind of like take our sweet time because we know it's about to hurt and we know whatever. But that's like practice for the race day.
Sure.
Because that is the only reason I would ever get nervous for a race.
Yeah.
Right? There's like I show up for a race, I'm feeling good, I'm excited or whatever. And the closer we get to the event, the more nervous I get.
Right.
And it's not because like I'm nervous about doing the movements or I'm nervous because I know it's not going to be very much longer before I'm going to be in pain.
Right.
And I don't want to be in pain. Nobody likes pain.
Sure.
But once you're out there and you're in it, especially if you practice for it,
Right.
it kind of, you work through it.
I
You
was
work
going
through
to
it.
say, you just kind of work through each part of it.
So the same thing applies when we're getting ready for a hard workout. We drag our feet because we know this is about to suck.
I have a pep talk in the car every time.
Yeah.
Little pep talk, say a little prayer.
Whatever it takes,
Please
man.
help me get through this.
Whatever it takes, but you have to put those in. And I feel like if you don't try to do everything by yourself and you get the right kind of crew around you, that'll help like immensely.
Without a doubt.
So, for me, I'm definitely, I'm a lot along with Tommy is like the things that I'm not just naturally good at, those are the things I dread doing.
Yeah.
But those are also the things that I probably need to be doing more than anything else because I'm not good at them.
Right.
Or I'm not as good at them as I want to be or as I could be if I focused on them. And so when you do that and those weaknesses become a strength, then it not only builds your confidence, but it also like makes the things that you are good at, makes you better at those things.
Right.
Right. So you're just constantly progressing. And so, as athletes, I think that should be the ultimate goal. Right. And it doesn't have to be the goal that you want to be a world champion or that, you want to be better than everybody in your gym. It could simply just be the goal that you're just trying to be better for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Like better than you used to be.
Or recognizing that you have much more
Potential
in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
And a lot of times it just takes someone else pointing it out.
Yeah.
And
that I think is one of the best things about a good coach.
Yeah.
Is a good coach will draw that out of you.
Absolutely.
And they will convince you.
Yeah.
They'll help you start believing in yourself that maybe what things that you didn't even think were possible become not just possible, but inevitable.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming in today. Tommy, thank you for being here. Appreciate
pleasure.
you. Good
Thank
guest
you.
host. Just a natural transition. It's almost like we work together or something.
That's right, man.
It's almost like we've been training and racing together for
We've
years.
had a long history.
Yeah.
Yep. So we thank everybody for tuning in today. If this is your first time, welcome. We're so glad that you joined us. You can check us out on Instagram. Make sure if you haven't done so, follow us on Instagram at Running with James. You can check out Lauren at the Backyard Bohemian. You can check out Tommy at Black Cap and Specs.
That's it.
And make sure you follow these guys. They're good follows. And the reason I want you to follow Running with James is because none of you are, apparently, and I need you to so that you know what's going on. Yeah. Secondly, check us out on YouTube. Dropping new videos pretty much every single week, shoe reviews. We've got some comparison videos coming out here pretty soon. So if you're looking for, what's the best running shoe to wear, we're doing new tips, training tips, all those types of things. You can check it out on our YouTube page at Running with James. Subscribe, share it, like it. It is amazing when you support us. And then if you want to take it to that next level, you can become a Patreon member. Simply go to patreon.com/runningwithjames. You can join for free. And with free, you get one extra episode a month. But if you hit that paid subscription, you get all the extra content plus discounts and some cool stuff at the end of the year. So for everybody out there, thank you guys for support. We appreciate you. And remember, when you change your mind,
You
change your life.
Peace out, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Change your mind, change your life.